Redditors who are clearly not the favorite child, how did that affect you? I was about to complain about how my brother just had more photo albums and toys when he was little, but that was it. But scrolling through all of the posts scares me about these people's parents. I was the first and therefore have 10 extra photo albums. My mom jokes that there's a million pictures of me, 500,000 of my middle brother, and 1 or 2 of the youngest. This thread spiraled into abusive stories though, makes me sad. Pisses me off. I was quiet, shy, and didn't bother anybody. My brother, on the other hand, was a complete butthole and always tried to get into fights with me. I would be doing my homework and he would come up behind me and try to slam my head on the table. He'd tackle me unprovoked and beat the crap out of me for no reason. I tried everything I could to get away from him. If my parents were going to the store, I'd go to, but if he hopped in the car, I'd get out. This would sometimes lead to comical situations where I'd get in, he'd get in, so I'd get out and he'd get out and repeat, but that's getting off topic. Anyways, they gave him all the good stuff. They fixed up his room and gave him an AC while you could see the 2x4s in my room and no AC. Before that though, we shared a bedroom, and then when it came time to separate, he got to keep all the electronics. He had a radio, game consoles, TV. I had nothing for a few months. My parents acted like it was my fault, but he would start so many fights that my parents decided that they couldn't take it anymore, so they told us to not talk to each other, something we have done for the last 16 years. He has mental health problems. My dad realized it, but my mom pretends like it doesn't exist and she shuts down anyone who tries to say otherwise. Went the overcompensation route. The favorite sibling died, and I'm still not enough compared to him. Him dying now places him on this angelic pedestal, even though he literally did nothing with his life and straight up stole money from my parents. Whoa, that's just horrible. I hope you've learned to stop looking for their approval and start doing the things you want to do. Competing with a dead person is impossible. People tend to idolize them. I know this because a girl I was interested in could never let go of her boyfriend, who died in a bike accident years before, even though he was a drunkard and a massive douchebag to everyone. My father gave a speech at my wedding in which he spoke of my stubbornness and how not everybody has to excel in life to be happy, and apparently I am one of those. I just remember thinking, why couldn't he find something I am good at to talk about instead of all the things I tried and failed at? At my rehearsal dinner, my mother told my wife not to expect me to be good with money or able to provide for her. That was the only thing she said. Worth noting, my parents are in their 60s with no retirement money, and I'm more financially stable than they are. Cripplingly low self-esteem. I don't blame my brother at all. In fact, we have a really great relationship. He's one of my all-time favorite people. He notices the differences too and doesn't think it's fair. I'm just the scapegoat. Straight up. Sounds like me and my really cool younger sister. I've got over the low esteem part when I lost my expectations towards my parents. It was pretty relieving, although late. I always got the sense my sister was my mum's favorite, and I was my dad's. When my dad left, well, it was nothing major, but it is frustrating knowing she will always get the benefit of the doubt and get more leeway. Then again, if my dad visits, it is kinda awkward watching the opposite happen. I am a middle child in between 2 sisters, each approximately a year apart from me. My mother always preferred girls to boys, and as such would treat me as always in the wrong. This went as far as to when she would catch them in the act of doing something wrong, would punish me instead. This culminated into what I like to refer to as kicking me out of the house when I was 10 years old. In essence, she called one of her ex-husbands, not my father, and a rather nasty divorce, and told him that if he didn't come and take me in, she was putting me into a boys' home. So this man uplifted his life from the several states away that he moved and took me in for a few months. I was then bounced from house to house until I landed a semi-permanent residence with one of my aunts. TLDR. Least favorite child, and got kicked out of the house at 10 years old. Favorably for the most part, except if things went wrong and I was nearby, it was my fault. As the oldest of 5, I developed dad reflexes long before my time. Oldest of 5 here too. I've had mom reflexes since 6 years old. I try to have a sense of humor about it and call myself the black sheep. I think deep down it hurts, but I truly just think my parents don't understand me or my interests, and I've come to realize they love me but just don't relate as well. My mom was abusive towards me, but never towards my brother, thankfully. When it came to getting attention from her, I only knew negative and thought it was strange when we would be around the rest of the family and she was nice towards me, as I only knew her beating the crap out of me. As I got older, I looked for affection from anywhere I could get it, which was usually older boys. Whenever she saw anyone treating me well, she did whatever she could to ruin it. After years of abuse from her, I finally decided to cut ties with her, and I've been incredibly happy the past 5 years. I feel for you. My mom was the same way with me. I remember getting report cards with teachers' comments that I was fun to have in class. One year she actually called my teacher, said she knew that was a lie, she lived with me. I was born shortly after World War II to a war-broken father and clueless mother, who tried hard to raise a son, but was misguided by Dr. Spark and parenting practices that were prevalent at the time. As a result, corporal punishment was liberally applied, even as an infant, and I grew into a resentful, hostile toddler. Then my sister was born. Sugar and spice, and everything nice, what a crock. It took me over 50 years to figure out that I had no support or goodwill from my parents and sister. Ultimately, I cut all ties with them. Parents are now deceased, and sister has been completely out of my life for years. I do not miss them, and am grateful for the few years I have left to examine, and maybe fix, some of the damage they did to me. Mad respect. Admittedly, I don't understand what Vulcans have to do with this, but still, mad respect. Yeah, I didn't have a good time. All I ever heard was, "Oh well, Brian won a ski competition and looks like he's getting engaged. I wish you would be more like your cousin. He's a very good kid." Well frick, I'm an only child and I'm still not the favorite. Brian must have had awesome parenting, and then snap a picture of their face. I was the mistake of 2 stupid teenagers. My bio dad ran away to another country, Arabian, and my bio mom had me and then dumped me on my grandma. My mom then married an abusive butthole and had 3 other kids with him that were 5 years younger than me. My grandma was a widower that worked as a cleaner all her life. She had so little, but she tried her best. We were super poor until she passed away from a heart attack when I was 8. I then rejoined. My mom was promptly cast as the black sheep. My mom's husband had a small successful building company and they lived in a big mansion type house with a pool. My half siblings had the latest toys, participated in all sorts of after school activities and had their own rooms. I was allowed to sleep in a sleeping bag in the lounge. I had to look for a job and use it all to pay board since the age of 13. I wasn't allowed to have any friends over or do anything. I had to go to the local school whilst my siblings went to some fancy pants prestigious school. I mostly spent my days in the library reading, studying and participating in free activities. I would also volunteer a lot as that was more fun than working and they couldn't tell me not to do it. They were good Christians. I would basically wake up at 6 AM, do my chores, paper route other odd jobs, exercise, eat fruit for breakfast, then go to school, then go to work, extracurricular free crap, spend time in the library until it was 8 PM, then go home, do the other chores I had left, eat leftovers and sleep. Due to this routine, I ended up doing well at school and getting multiple offers for full rides through college. My guidance counselor, some teachers and close friends' families knew of my situation and helped me a lot by taking me for holidays, helping me get organized for college, etc. In the end, I got a good job, started a successful business, and am way ahead of any of my siblings. My siblings treated me like complete trash and ignored me for most of my youth. Probably coached by my mom and stepdad. The GFC really killed my stepdad's business and the whole family became dirt poor. My business prospered under the GFC and now I make enough money that I don't have to work if I don't want to. It's not so surprising how everyone suddenly remembers you are family when in a crisis after ignoring you for most of your life. I'm currently 33 and very happy with myself. I don't have any family in my eyes, and the experiences I have had has made it difficult for me to open up to anyone completely and be vulnerable, so relationships are difficult for me. However, this experience has taught me discipline, self-reliance, independence and drive, which has helped me in my business, career life and physical health. I have a very small group of tight friends and that's enough for me. I am in therapy trying to get myself to open up more. Hopefully one day I will have a family of my own. I can only imagine how proud your grandma would have been. Middle child here. All I ever wanted to do was be a drummer. Parents wouldn't allow me to have a kit. Switched over to guitar instead and asked for lessons since they had invested in years of piano lessons for my sibling sisters. Wouldn't allow it. Eventually moved to LA. Started a band. Got a record deal. Had a video on MTV. And a Billboard Top 40 active rock song. Turns out, I didn't need their support of my aspirations after all. I still want to be a drummer though. You could be Nega Dave Grohl. Never give up on your dreams. I was told once in a very serious situation that I am the favorite child, and I resented my parents a lot for it. I felt horrible for my siblings and of course never wanted them to find out for fear of how they would feel. I overcompensated and insisted on being perfect, even if my family didn't recognize it. As a result, I am the most successful of my siblings by far, both financially and personally. Now the script has flipped and they hate me because I have so much more than them. Moral of the story is you can't control what people think of you, so make your life what you want it to be. My parents just say I'm more independent than my younger sister, the baby of the family. We were both adopted and I never felt like I really connected with family the way she does. I moved out as soon as I turned 18 and now I talk to my parents as an adult, and we get along much better. Some people you can take in small doses, and I guess that's how my parents feel about me, because that's how I feel about them. I was the black sheep of my family. My parents divorced when I was 4. Both had undiagnosed mental illnesses. My mom's side of my family genuinely despise me and have since I was a kid. I have all female cousins. My 2 older brothers were the only boys. They were treated kinda better. None of my aunts disciplined their kids. They also never believed their kids can do no wrong. My brothers were just boys who needed a good influence. They all hated my dad and his family because my dad remarried after the divorce. I, on the other hand, was a burden. On the Thanksgiving after my 19th birthday, they set up a birthday cake for one of my cousins whose birthday was in December. I mentioned they didn't tell me happy birthday. I was told by my grandmother that since I didn't write proper thank you notes, I didn't deserve to have a birthday. My mom briefly married a man who was a known child molester and had my sister. I moved in with my dad shortly after. I thought maybe they hate my dad, but no, they treat my sister like gold. 1/2 sister. My cousins have stolen from me, humiliated me during family vacations, blamed me for bad things happening to them. My dad passed away in 2010 and I haven't really had family since, but my BF has a good family. A few years ago, I lent my mum a loan. She used the money to buy my brother an iPad for his birthday. She forgot my birthday. We are twins. That is fricked. It was weird. My mom clearly favored my younger brother. She has always preferred boys. He was somewhat special needs, hyperactive and had dyslexia, and this just amplified the attention he got. I never resented it. He was a cool kid and it wasn't his fault. Sometimes he would even take the blame for things I did because the punishment would be lighter. We both knew it, but what can you do? He passed away when he was 25. Now a big part of who my mom is relates to having lost a son. Still the favorite. Still not mad. I'm so sorry to hear about your brother's passing at such a young age. I'm glad that you all got to share a special bond during the time he was here. I think that him taking the blame for you at a young age showed how much he looked up to you. Hang on, there's something in my eye. Well, my parents don't possess a picture of me before the age of 5 and I'm the third of 4 children. So either they weren't impressed by me or I'm adopted. For years we thought my little sister didn't have a baby book. Not because my parents didn't love her, but because putting that together when you have 3 kids under the age of 6 you get a little busy. We actually found it a few years back in a box full of old photos. but I think it still gave my sister a complex. It made me work harder to achieve more to prove myself in their eyes. In hindsight, it was a blessing in disguise because it gave me reason to accomplish more than I would have otherwise, helping to set the stage for a positive future. I have 2 cousins who were always the favorites with my grandparents growing up. They would go to the ends of the earth to make them happy and would go to every little event and kindergarten concert. As for me, they couldn't even be bothered to show up to my birthday parties. In fact, we stopped having family parties when I was in the 3rd grade because they would say they'd be there, then just wouldn't show. Stuff like that really hurts when you're 9. There was also a lot of drama and intrigue because they didn't like my parents. My mom got a 10-page letter in the mail from my grandma when I was a kid, calling her a fat cow and a disappointment. She said I wasn't being raised right and wouldn't amount to anything. My aunts and uncles liked to stir the pot as well and cause trouble. It wasn't just me who was hurt by them. Thankfully I have great parents, so the main effect it had on me is that I'm very emotionally detached from my extended family, as are my parents. Personally I see them at Christmas most years and that's fine with me. My grandpa likely has less than a year left to live and is now very senile. From the start of the whole saga I've had absolutely no emotional reaction. I'm not happy at what's going on, but it has had no impact on me. I felt bad for a while and felt as though I should feel something, but then thought, you reap what you sow. It is clear that between my cousins and us, me and my brother, we are the least favorites for our grandfathers on our dad's side. But I think it's mainly connected that my dad is their least favorite child. I don't really care, but it's sad how they fricked up their relationship with us. Especially with dad. He didn't deserve it and I think it has a lot to do with the way he is now. He's completely fine, just have some issues like we all do. My mother is constantly giving to my 2 brothers, but because I'm capable of taking care of myself, I get nothing from her. That's fine, whatever. But we're not children anymore. We're all in our 40s. Like when we're out to lunch and my mother pays for everyone's meals but mine, and then asks my brother if he wants her to buy him a pie to take home. I guess I'll buy my own freaking pie, mom. Which I'm totally capable of doing. It just all happens right in front of me and gets really old. When I was younger, I'd get upset by it. Mostly it was my father with my brother. Those 2 just got along better than him and I. But as I grew older I realized that it doesn't really matter because I don't enjoy the crap my dad enjoys. It's not like if I was the favorite I'd be hanging out with him. I mean, I just kinda flowed with it. That just sounds like they had more in common than you 2 did. Not that he was favorite, but hey, I don't know any of you. I didn't do things I wanted to do because it was always compared to what he'd done first. Just sucked the fun clean out of it. Now it's just a major eye roll every time the excuses are made for him. This thread really makes me want to go thank my parents. They made everything as equal as possible between my sister and I, and they've always been really explicit about making sure we know that they do that so we don't expect more or less than each other. If there's a favorite, they kept it well hidden. Just like they keep me or brother hidden away. It's complicated. It's not so much that there were favorites, but my older sister wasn't, and still isn't, held responsible for her actions and what she says as much as I was. Because my sister had to go through an extra special education class since she was in 1st grade, I was labeled the smart one. I was always expected to be the smart one and nothing less. My sister would be failing 2 classes and neglect to tell our father about Saturday school. He'd get a little yelly and was angry about the inconvenience of having to drive his kid somewhere on such short notice, but other than that nothing ever came of it. This happened for months. I had 1 C in science and my life was over. I couldn't go anywhere. No phone, no computer, no TV, nothing. Then in conversations between the 3 of us he would always tell my sister that she's just trying the best she could and that I'm just being a lazy butt. My mom had a really bad drinking problem and she now uses shopping to fill the void, so for a while she would really focus on buying me things. Not things I asked for, but little trinkets and shelf decorations. Maybe that was her way of trying to compensate for everything else. When they found out I was self-harming, my mom would buy me packs and packs of fake tattoos. Of course that brought more tension because my mom wasn't buying things for my sister and she was spending my father's money, but what it all really came down to is that it was just me being a spoiled brat. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, feels good to rant. It really fricked me up. My little brother gets whatever he wants. My sisters and I on the other hand are not allowed to do simple things like use the internet and eat. He doesn't know that my boyfriend figured out the password and gave it to me. Gotta love my nerd. It got to the point where I was struggling in school because I wasn't allowed internet to work on my assignments. All the while my little brother sat there watching YouTube. I know it's not my brother's fault but I resent him for it. I had to work so hard to get my stepdad to even acknowledge my existence while he got it straight up because of genetics. I wish I could get out of here but he takes my money as well. It got so bad I tried to kill myself, if that shows how badly it affected me. It hasn't really made a huge impact on my life I guess, except I can't understand how people enjoy spending time with their families. I'm the least favorite for sure, mostly because I'm the most outspoken. I'm not willing to just take whatever comes out of my dad's mouth as the truth. My sister is forever making posts on Facebook about how she's so thankful my parents do stuff for her. My dad once told a room full of psychologists that he didn't love her because how could you love that, so I'm not sure why she's kissing butt. My dad regularly tells me that my political views pain him and are disappointing. I also didn't baptize my kids because my husband and I decided to let them make that decision on their own. But that's basically just condemning them to heck I guess. My brother is considerably younger than my sister and I. He's the favorite. My dad tried to have me and my friends arrested at 16-17 for smoking weed. My brother drops out of college and flicks his chances in the army and my parents have no problem with that. I can't understand how people enjoy spending time with their families. I'm right there with you. It still feels unnatural to me spending time with my wife's family, and I really enjoy their company. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.